This final section of the course focuses on getting the most out of playback in Sibelius. Because some sections involve looking in detail at hardware or setting up third-party virtual instruments, much more detail is given in the book. Watch this video as an overview, but make sure if you're interested in any specific sections that you read the corresponding parts of your book. Open Sibelius's mixer by pressing the shortcut M for mixer. You haven't learned to use the mixer before this point because the best way to control dynamics in the score is simply to write them. You write FF and Sibelius plays that instrument back very loudly, PP, and it plays very softly. The mixer, therefore, is for changing the sounds of the instruments in your score relative to one another. For example, if the timpani in this score are persistently too quiet to hear in comparison to the brass, you can drag the timpani slider up. You can drag the sliders up and down while Sibelius is playing back to get your mix just right. More details can be revealed in the mixer by clicking the Change Mixer Height button or by dragging the top of the mixer. The mixer can also be undocked, so if you have a second monitor, you can drag the mixer out of the way of the score and still have it available. In the mixer, clicking the S button solos that instrument. Clicking the M button 3 times toggles between half-muted, muted, and unmuted modes. The pan position rotary control allows you to change the side the instrument is panned to. There are many other options in the mixer, but these are the essential ones to know at this level. If you're lucky enough to own an M Audio Axiom Pro keyboard, you can also control these controls without even opening the mixer. The sliders can control all the sliders in the mixer, and the mute and solo and panning functions can be controlled from buttons and knobs on the keyboard. Add to this the numerical keypad, which will allow you to input notes from Sibelius's keypad panel, and the playback options, and the Axiom Pro keyboard gives direct control over Sibelius. Should you want to connect an external MIDI device to Sibelius, such as a sound module or a MIDI keyboard with good sounds, go to the Play tab in the ribbon and choose the Dialog Launcher button in the Setup group. On the left of the Playback Devices dialog, you will be able to see any available devices with MIDI out. If yours doesn't appear here, then try restarting Sibelius, and if they still don't appear, update your device's drivers. Create a new playback configuration by clicking the New button and name it appropriately. Next, deactivate any existing playback devices, and then add your MIDI out device. Change the sound set by double-clicking it to choose the correct sound set for your device, or if your device isn't shown but has a general MIDI mode, select that. You can also custom build your own sound sets, although that's a little out of reach of this level of the course. Finally, make sure the device is selected and click the Test button, at which point it will play back a scale to confirm that it's correctly set up. Click Save, then Close to finish and play back your score with an external MIDI device. The process is nearly identical for virtual instruments, depending on the manufacturer. The virtual instrument that you've already got a bit of experience with is the Sibelius 7 sounds, which were included with your copy of Sibelius 7 and sound really great. You can switch back to the Sibelius Sounds configuration by clicking the Configuration button under the Play tab of the ribbon. There's no need to go back into the Playback Devices dialog unless you actually need to edit the configurations. When you click the Configuration button in the ribbon, you'll also notice a number of other Sibelius 7 Sounds configurations, including chamber, jazz, and light. If you're having playback problems from time to time with the Sibelius 7 Sounds, you can try these configurations as alternates to the full range of sounds. Playback your Agent Zero score. Now you know about the mixer, you might like to better balance the playback. The Sibelius 7 sounds include all sorts of sounds for alternate playing techniques. For example, if you jump to bar 36 and solo the brass instruments, you'll hear that they really do sound muted. At the same point, solo the strings, and you'll hear real pizzicato samples recorded by the Avid Orchestra to make your playback as realistic as possible. The harp glissando at bar 16 sounds great too. Try adding a playing technique yourself. At bar 25, add trem sul pont in technique text above the violin 1. Trem is short for tremolo, so the violin sound will be played with rapid up and down bows, and sul pont tells the players to play next to the bridge, which creates a spooky, glassy kind of sound. If I turn down the video and solo the violin so that I can just hear the Sibelius 7 sounds, I can hear that they indeed include this playing technique. Now, I'll copy that instruction to all of the string parts as they enter in bars 22 to 24, and then I'll listen to it again. It sounds amazingly realistic. In your book, there is information on other playback settings that you can change in Sibelius to do with expression and rubato. To experiment with playback in a few different virtual instruments, let's revert to the Beethoven score that you copied into Sibelius in Lesson 2. This will save us time loading lots of samples again and again. If you can't find your copy of this score, another copy is provided in the Core Resources folder under Lesson 5. If you open the mixer inside the Beethoven score, you will discover that clicking on the program name gives you access to all of the Sibelius 7 sounds, so that you can change the sound being used to play back any particular instrument. This is useful in the string quartet to make sure that the sounds used are the solo instrument sounds, not the ensemble instrument sounds. Sibelius 7 sounds are one example of a virtual instrument. If you enjoy using high-quality orchestral and chamber sounds with your Sibelius playback, you may decide to extend your library of virtual instruments by buying more made by third parties. There are a number of great products out there, and your book shows you how to set up 3 of the most popular: Garriton Personal Orchestra, Sinful Orchestra, and the Vienna Symphonic Library Special Edition. Your Core Resources folder also includes MP3 files of the Beethoven String Quartet and an excerpt from the wonderfully slushy Tchaikovsky's Romeo and Juliet Overture, made using each of these virtual instruments playing back from Sibelius with no extra MIDI manipulation, so you can compare them. To control the tempo of your Sibelius performance a little more, you can choose to conduct it. To do this, you use a feature called Live Tempo. To begin, choose Calibrate under the Live Tempo group in the Play tab of the ribbon. Sibelius will ask you to tap the spacebar in time with a metronome while it measures latency, which is the delay between Sibelius telling the metronome to click and the time it actually takes the sound to play. Once you've measured latency, you can conduct Sibelius playing back the quartet. To do this, change the view to Panorama and move the playback line to the start of the score, and then choose Record under the Live Tempo group. Sibelius will wait for you to begin tapping, and will allow you to beat a bar to set a tempo before it starts playing back. Now remember, this quartet is in 2, not 4, so don't tap too fast. As it plays back, you can tap faster to speed it up, slower to slow it down, or stop tapping to allow it to continue on at the tempo you've established. Once you're done, Sibelius will display a tempo graph above the score and will remember how you conducted it next time it plays back. You've all but finished the Sibelius core course. Here are 2 more small features to take on with you as you move toward the next levels. Once you've learned where everything is in that ribbon, why not hide it when it's not in use? To do this, double-click the open tab and the whole ribbon will minimize so you can concentrate even more on your score. Want to take that a whole level higher? Try View, then Window, and Full Screen. I hope you've enjoyed completing this Sibelius 7 course. If you need help contacting an Avid training partner or would like to run this course externally through your own institution or studio, please contact Avid through their website at www.avid.com. And you can follow all the latest information about Sibelius at www.sibeliusblog.com or on Twitter @SibeliusBlog.